Hey, my name is Steven, and I like to make fonts. I make them as arrow type, which you probably already know because you're on my YouTube channel, but maybe you stumbled upon this somehow. So if so, welcome. This is my font name Sans. It is based on the mosaic name tablets of the New York City subway system, which are really cool. I've talked a lot about this and written about this. So if you want to see more about it, just go to my website, arrowtype.com. Today, I'm going to be making some longer arrows for this font. And what I mean is kind of ligature arrows. So this font has, it's a variable font with lots of static instances as well. It has an optical size range. So you can see that these letters, for instance, get kind of more open and more widely spaced for smaller optical sizes. So that's for like text in a book or on a website. And then things that all get tighter and more geometric and more beautiful sort of for larger sizes when you crank up the optical size. And then it's got a big old weight range as well. So one thing it's got are these longer arrows. And these arrows are something you do see on the subway system signage. So, it's got typical arrows like this, but then longer arrows like this. Building that way, that sort of thing. These are a little hard to type. So as a tip, you can on a Mac do, I think, Control Command Space. And then this brings up your character palette. I didn't know about this for the longest time. It is super handy. It works in almost every text field, not every single text field, but most. There's like a big version and a little version, which you can get to by clicking that. And then you can search for what you're trying to type. So, there's emoji. So if you want to type out like crying or whatever, it gives you these options. But you can also do things like arrows, or I wonder, Pilcrow might work. Yeah, so you can get that paragraph symbol. So arrows, there's quite a few different arrows, and it's pretty hard to access these normally. So yeah, like there's even like arrow heads and arrow tails, but honestly, I don't remember. Yeah, and that's not where I put it. That's the not def in this font. It ultimately doesn't matter too much. Here is like, for instance, the long arrows, the full long arrows that I had already typed. So half the goal is to make it so that if you type something like maybe, I don't know, I have yet to determine precisely what I want people to type to make these arrows work, but this is probably a good start. Just like the greater than, hyphen, greater than should turn into a long arrow pointing that way, and maybe vice versa. And then also probably I could do like, that could be the long arrow tail, and then that could be the long arrow head. And I don't really know what would be the normal arrows. Maybe it should be something more like this is the arrowhead and arrow tail with like a colon to represent sort of, because often these arrowheads and tails will actually be, Fulton Street or something. They'll kind of surround a directional piece of signage like that. So yeah, I like that a lot. Let's see, I haven't totally, I haven't scripted this out, and I haven't even totally come up with a plan. Part of this will just be me kind of working through it. And I feel like there's maybe value or entertainment that can arise from somebody working through something live. We'll see. I might cut out really boring parts, or parts that I look really stupid in. So yeah, let me start like making the font features here, and that'll give you a little glimpse into my feature writing. This is a pretty big family with like a lot of styles. And so, and it's variable and static. So I'm not going to get into the whole stack or anything, but there's a bunch of different feature files. But I start writing features in the variable font features file for the uprights. It's just kind of like a good basis. And then little things change in static feature files. I could be changing those in Python scripts like during my build process, but honestly, it's one of those things, like it's a little easier just to type it out, to kind of hard code it. Yeah, it pretty much works. So yeah, there's quite a few things going on here already. I mean, it's a pretty developed font, but I don't yet have a ligature feature because this font, sometimes like an FI or FL ligature are useful for, say, a serif font where the F has a really long hook and it would either crash into the I dot. That's kind of where you want to potentially have a ligature or a contextual alternate, or maybe the option of both. So my typeface Lang, for instance, has that. Yeah, so a thing I do often actually is to look at the OpenType cookbook. This is by Tal Lemming, and he runs Type Supply, and he's a brilliant dude who's done a lot in the world of fonts. And this, if you are interested in font scripting for features, and it's not really scripting, maybe, I don't know, writing font features, this is an awesome guide. And what I'm looking for specifically is his suggested order of things. So this is good to know. He suggests putting alternates like stylistic sets before ligatures. And I just wanted to confirm that. I don't think that's a hard rule, but it is kind of useful to follow those sort of things. He's thought it through, so I'm going to follow that. And I could reason through why. I mean, I guess if you change to a different version of an F, you may not need your FI ligature anymore because maybe the version you changed to above it is a contextual alternate. Does he do that? Or a stylistic set or something. And maybe the ligature is no longer needed for effective spacing. So that probably won't come into play here, but that's kind of why you would order something in that way. Let me boost up my type size so it's a little easier to see on YouTube maybe. Don't need this at the moment. So let's do a super basic one. Liga, let's see if I'm getting this. I can refer to my syntax right below it. So a basic way is you can sub hyphen greater. I've got to look up these specific glyph names probably. Oh, wait. I can do that in font goggles probably. Yes. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I had the actual correct names. Hyphen greater by. Oh crap. Now what's the arrow? I wonder if I can just search. Haha. VS Code. Thank you. Oh my God. I have too many things. Maybe I just have to open up RoboFont for this to make any sense. Okay. What am I doing? Let's do that. Okay. Open resize text bold. Where are you? Okay. And by the way, I'm not going to play music in this, even though it's like a stream sort of, because I haven't licensed the music. And yeah, I license things for a living, so I don't want to use people's music without licensing it. Remember by Weevil is an album that just was released today. Weevil is one of my all-time favorite artists. So good. They just get me into a total trance, and I love them. I'll listen to their albums so many times. The year it comes out, especially. So I'm going to listen to this in the background, real quiet. And you can too, if you feel like it. But Yeah, highly, highly recommend it. This first track, so good. Okay, back to the point. Let's look at our arrows. What did I call it? All right, we'll do the simple one here. I'm gonna Option Command C to copy that name, I think. Cool. So this will look for, oops. Let's start with this. I think this, and we'll test it. We'll look for greater hyphen greater by arrow right tail and see if that works. One thing I'm going to test is I've got like a prepped bunch of sources, but let's see. Let me just try this even. Like just straight up opening this in Font Goggles. It can sometimes, depending how I've got this set up, my fonts may not be 100% compatible. I don't think so. Nope. Okay, let's try this again. Can't I? Okay, fine. It didn't want to open up, but let's find this. And this is, no, why? Oh, it probably can't read the design space version 5. Okay, that's fine. I don't need it anyway. I will simply build my font. Let's see. Will this work? Cool. I just set up a makefile today for this font. Kind of later than I should have, but it's pretty handy to get going. All right, so this will run font bakery, a build script I have for a variable font. No, what happened? Oh, well, the good news is actually it's just a syntax error. Ha. Let me try this again. And I saw that, yeah, I don't know. It was in the features code line that I was just writing, and it says liga, and I knew that was a problem. I've run into that sort of thing before. So, all right, I have to figure out this makefile a little better. It shouldn't have to prep new sources. Darn it. All right. Well, I'm not going to figure out the makefile right at this moment because I'm doing something else. So let me just do this in a slightly more manual way. I have a build script that I will call with this alias and copy the relative path. Let's see if that works. I think it will. And I could have also done like make clean and then prepped new sources, but I haven't changed anything about the sources. So I don't think that makes any sense. The sources reference this feature code as we saw from it failing just a moment ago. So I think this will work. Let's find out. My script automatically opens things up in Font Goggles once they build. So if they do build, we'll get to test this right away. Fingers crossed. It's a pretty big font, so it takes a sec. All right. Hey, nice. Testing. Moment of truth. If I can remember what to type. Oh, no, that wasn't it. Yes. Oh, and this shows me that it is, yeah, the italic variable font references a different file. But you can see how this happened, right? This is what we typed, or well, this is what we typed. And once it sees that string, it automatically swaps it out. So If the string is different, like if we have an extra hyphen in there, it doesn't swap it out because that is not the string we have typed any longer. Yeah. So we can just sort of start thinking through what other basic ones we want here. If we have less, hyphen less, we want arrow left tail. And before I build again to test this, I'm pretty confident it will work. I want to add the others as well. So let's see. I wanted colon hyphen greater to be arrow right triangle, I think it's called. Yeah. And I wanted greater hyphen colon. That sounds slightly questionable. I don't know. To be the arrow right tail feather, which also sounds questionable. Awesome. I think that makes sense. Yeah. I could actually make comments here. That might make it make more sense. So, oh, this is funny. This is an instance where it's both great and totally not great to have my code ligatures on, actually. Maybe I'll turn those off. Let's see if this works. Hey, all right, that works. Yeah, it's been a while since I've coded much with it, but okay, it doesn't have ligatures. Also an amazing font, so yeah, it looks good. Okay, colon hyphen greater. Yeah, I'm gonna add comments to all of these, honestly. For now, at least, just to keep it straight in my head. Maybe I should keep the hard to say. I think I should potentially keep the right words arrow basics together, and then I will do that with the leftwards arrow basics as well. Oops. I'm using a few keyboard shortcuts here to move things around and copy them. If you hold shift and press your arrow keys, I didn't know about this for a long time. You can highlight things. And then if you add modifiers, like the option key will highlight a whole word at a time. The command key will highlight a whole line at a time. Super cool. And then VS Code, and that works in almost any text field on a Mac. VS Code has additional things, like if you hold option on a line, it'll move it up and down. Super cool. If you hold option and shift, it'll copy it up or down, or like duplicate the line up and down. So that's super nice. All right. So if you see me moving around code, that's kind of what I'm doing. Oh, I could have done this slightly faster. Oh well. Left. So Command D will highlight the next instance of a string that you've highlighted. That's how I changed that at the same time. All right, I think all of these are correct. And I think I will build after this just to verify that. All right, let's build this VF again. Oh, I should have done it for the italic. That's okay. I will do that next. And then after this basic bit of feature writing, I kind of want to shift modes and generate this glyph. Oh no, I did something wrong. I want to shift modes and generate this glyph in my source fonts with like longer versions of these arrows. So somebody could type like essentially, you know, a real long arrow. I don't know about that long. I'm probably going to keep it somewhat sensible, but something like that. The other thing I want to kind of figure out is can I easily allow people to type in these arrows in a way that's non-destructive? I mean, maybe essentially this without the colon is fine. Or maybe like dash dash greater. That's probably how you would type it out. That's probably what I'll try. In fact, why not? And I'll look at this error message in a sec. Because it seems like it's probably a syntax error. Oh. Oops, I misspelled that wrong. Computers are so picky. Hopefully that works. While we're at it, I'm going to copy this into the italic feature, italic variable font feature, because I believe it should work basically the exact same there. But it'd be nice to keep them in sync as we go. Okay. So let's build our VFs again. And this is just mostly font make. Building a VF, and then a couple of extra steps I do to it. I'm debating whether to show the shell script that is building this, but it's slightly messy, and I don't want to spend all my time talking about that because I inevitably would. Which is the bigger problem. Okay, here we go. It is working. Name. Ah, yeah. Nice. Does this work? Nice. That is so much nicer than trying to find these things in the glyph palette. I love it. Sick. And what if I do this instead? Yeah. Super cool. This would be a very random thing to have in the subway, but cool. And that is fun with ligatures. Pretty cool. Let's try the left ones as well. So what do we have here? Oh, yeah. Sometimes you see signs like that. Oops. I don't think I think I've typed this right. So let's see. What did I get wrong here? I probably have to move something around. Yep. I think, no. Okay. I need to switch things around. So this should be less hyphen colon. Does that for the triangle, for the pointy part? And this should be colon hyphen less. And I'm already glad I've got these code comments because that is an easier way to reason this out than just having the glyph names there. Not that that's that hard, but you know, every bit helps. All right, and here we are. see if that works. I think it should. I'm going to try to speed through some of these build stages because that's not great YouTube content. And I think because this is pointing to the correct file, the same file path that we just rebuilt, it's already corrected itself. So this was the wrong thing, and now it's the right thing. Or the left thing. Cool. Yeah, so I'm liking that. The next step is definitely making some longer arrows. In the previous part, just to recap, I had my fonts and they had all these arrowglyphs in them. All right, that doesn't look good. All these arrowglyphs in them, but a lot of them were kind of hard. Well, all of them were kind of hard to access. So arrow ligatures can be nice, especially for the like left-right arrows. I don't really know a sensible arrow ligature for arrow up or arrow down, but left, right, arrow, right tail, etc. You can make a ligature there. And the main thing with a ligature is I want it to be easy to remember, but also not likely to come up in regular usage. So this potentially is a problem, I think, because like this looks like an emoticon face, and I don't want people getting a arrow if they're trying to get an emoticon face. So I'm actually gonna let me do this in the regular. One little change here. I'm gonna just add an extra hyphen. And I feel like that makes more sense as well because these are sort of like 3 units wide, I would say, whereas these are like 2 units wide. So I think it even just, to me, makes more sense there. These other things are a lot shorter, so I think you should have to type one more character to get the longer one. Okay, let's copy that over to the italic. And yeah, the goal I have, to recap that, is to make an even longer arrow because sometimes, well, like a thing that happens in the subway, I should have had an image pulled up of it. I don't offhand. All right, quick like promo thing. Let's see if it's here. It might be. Oh yeah, nice. So this is the future fonts page, future fonts to XYZ / arrow type / name sans, name dash sans. And this has a couple of examples where like 6th Ave has this long arrow under it as like a underline. I don't know how. I might make really long arrows, especially if I script this somehow. But I'm going to start small and start with just a few arrows to kind of run through it in my head, and then I might expand from there. So I think the first thing I'm going to need to make this work is like an arrow middle. And I don't think there's a Unicode. I've actually looked for this before. I don't think there's a Unicode glyph, which is specifically like an arrowless bar for arrows. That's fine. Not every glyph needs a Unicode number. And by the way, Unicode number is assigned to every glyph in a font. So like, or not every glyph, but many glyphs in a font. If you want to type the letter A and have it show up as the letter A, it needs to have a Unicode. This glyph is number 61 in the long list of characters that are encoded in Unicode. So that includes Japanese characters and Arabic characters and Cyrillic characters and the A breve acute etc., etc. The capital A has a different Unicode. I think it's 41 maybe, or probably wrong about that. Hey, I got it right. It is 41. Yeah. So if something does have a Unicode, it's nice to use that Unicode so then people can like find it through their character palette and things. So one way I search for that is the glyph browser from Eric von Blockland. Super handy. You can like search. You can either type something like up here and it finds it, or you can search for something and then it finds potential things that would match it based on their like glyph names. But yeah, I think I've looked for like I don't even know what you would call it. It'd probably have arrow somewhere in the name. And it would probably be kind of right next to these guys. So I think we're just going to call it, that's interesting that there's like a double rightwards arrow. That is a very specific glyph. Yeah. Okay. Looking for it. I don't have it, but that's okay. So I just like to check those things. There's different ways to make glyphs. I probably want to start it as a copy of one of these so I can do like just isolate this part. And I want to do this across multiple sources rather than clicking a bunch of times, because this font has 6 primary sources for the upright variable font and static instances, and then 6 more for the italic variable font. And I've got to draw each glyph in all 12 of those sources. So if I can script it, it takes a few minutes to script it, but it's often faster than opening up and adding these glyphs to every font. I don't know how offhand to add a font in script, but usually I just kind of figure it out. And I'll figure it out instead of telling you what I mean by that. So F equals current font. I do remember a lot offhand, but then some things I end up having to look up. So F, for instance, here, I want to probably copy this glyph, for instance. So maybe I'll write that intention as a code comment. Make new glyph as a copy of this glyph. I don't want to save the script just yet. Let me look in font parts. This is a way to manipulate UFOs. A cool thing about font parts is that you can use it outside of RoboFont even, but you don't necessarily, you can also use it in RoboFont in a script. And then RoboFont has additional little like methods and things to further manipulate things. The main detail that I come across a lot of the time that is something that RoboFont has as a method that Font Parts doesn't is like angled left margin rather than just basic left margin, which if you are working on a very italic font, you kind of think of margins as angled margins. That's kind of a little bit beyond what we're trying to even talk about. So let's copy this glyphs. Okay, right. So you want to make a new glyph object, and then you can copy a base glyph. Oh gosh, some things are a little annoying. We'll get there though. It's possible I'll have to go look up how to do this on a forum or something. Let's see. So first of all, we'll assign our glyph to copy as our font and this glyph name in the font. And we'll probably need to create a new glyph. So let's see if there's a way to do that. I think probably new glyph. Nice. Okay, we'll give it a glyph and a name. We've got a layer first. I think there's a way to get like the default layer. Okay, for layer in f.layers. Let's see, wait. Probably just f.layers 0 should be the default layer. Let's print this and find out. Yeah, cool. Okay, so we'll just assign this as our layer, our first layer. And then we can probably do this. New glyph equals, oops, layer, new glyph. Let's give it a name like arrow middle bar. I don't know if that name makes sense, but it doesn't have to make too much sense. It just has to be recognizable if I come across it again. I could call it arrow shaft, but it sounds suggestive. Arrow middle bar sounds good to me. And then I think we can maybe do this. New glyph equals glyph to copy dot copy. Let's find out. And I don't necessarily have to, the beautiful thing is if I mess this font up somehow, I can close out of it and it won't save it. And then I can also check in my Git changes if anything changed unexpectedly and revert that change. So I've got kind of like a few layers of safety if I'm scripting and it does something I didn't expect it to. And that allows me to test things out, which is extremely helpful. All right, so I am going to save this because it's at least partly what I want it to be. I'm not always super tidy with my scripts. I probably have a lot of the answers too for questions I've just been working through in my head in some of these scripts. A lot of the time I'll just look at an old script and figure it out like that. Make arrow middle bar. We'll go with that for now. Okay, let's see if that worked. Okay, interesting. It did make the glyph, but for some reason it didn't copy this. First of all, I probably could simplify this slightly. So it did make that. It should be copying everything. Oh, I don't actually want it to copy the Unicodes. I really only wanted to copy, say, the contours and the width. So you know what? I am going to pop open a script for reference. Because this is sometimes important. Oh, gosh, do I have to get a pen? Okay, probably. Let's try this. And pens aren't always super intuitive to me, so I have to think it through. I probably... So first I need to get the layer glyph. So I am going to need my glyph to copy. I don't know why this didn't work. That is for another time. All right. Glyph to copy. Let's set that up again. Is this one, please? And I'm going to get the top layer of it. So layers 0. And now, let's see, this pen has to be like a pen tool, as how I think of it, in the new glyph. So we're going to call this let's see if this works. I'm not positive that it will. Let's see. So I think we have to... Let's find out. Let's just find out. We might have to like get the top layer of that glyph or whatever. Glyph to copy. Draw points of that into our pen or with our pen. Let's just find out. Hey, all right, it almost worked. It still got 0 width, but that's really awesome news. Okay, so we're super close. The only thing I think is left is width. Left to copy width. Oops, I'm silly. Hey, there we go. Okay, and if I wanted to make this a composed glyph, like if I wanted this to be add component rather than duplicate the contours, then honestly I would use like glyph construction, which you can get from here, and it's the way in RoboFont to build accented glyphs, which I've shown. It's a way, a common way to build accented glyphs, which I've shown in other videos. And I've got a kind of script I figured out with the help of the RoboFont docs, I think, where I will just like build glyph construction in a bunch of glyph recipes, rather, in a bunch of fonts. Yeah. So this is what I would do. I would basically pop it here and then run this file on a bunch of fonts to create that as a component, but then I would need to decompose it. So this is a little nicer. So that leads me to also say, I want to get a bunch of files. Let's do this right now. So rather than just doing f.current font, I want to do this in a bunch of files. And I think I need like vanilla dialogues for that. Because this is like, it pops up the Mac file selection thingy. And now I'm just going to find this again for file, path, and files, open font. Okay. And then I can do this thing. And I prefer to say file path because I think file is a special name. And I'm just going to call it F so I don't have to change this stuff. Okay, so let's run this. Nice, working so far. Well, okay, I exited out of it, I think. Let's run it on... Okay, it's going to show the interface. I'm just going to run it on one other source for now, just in case it goes wrong. It's usually good to change just one thing at a time or close to it, so you can always be testing your current hypothesis. And I think that worked. Cool. I mean, it added our middle bar glyph and it copied those contours over. By the way, what I want to do with the middle bar glyph is just like this. And I should figure out exactly the width I actually want it to be. Probably like the width actually of, I'm glad I thought about this, 8.tnum we'll say, or it doesn't matter because it's a tabular figure. I think this might as well be tabular. It just seems like a reasonable amount of space for it to take up. Even though these arrows, I don't think they're tabular, but I could be wrong. I don't know. And then I may have to change my arrows to be like 0. Let me just run this again. That'll probably overwrite itself, I wonder. Yeah, it just did. Cool. Okay. Oh, oops. One more time, please. All right, that's what I want. I want to make sure I keep this height. And for now, I'll set it to 0 margin on either side. It's a little harder than I want it to be. So I'm going to set up guidelines as well. Append guideline. I want one guideline to be at 0, 0. And I think just 90 degrees. And then another guideline. And if you hear my my radiator in the background, I apologize. Let's see how this goes. I'll have to add angles for the italic fonts. Cool. And this just makes it a little easier to make this like snap to the point I want it to be. All right, come on. All right, that's super annoying. It wants to go up or down a little bit. Okay, but there we go. And the thing that's telling me it's on here is the fantastic like RoboFont bow tie by Ryan Bugden. What is it called? Eyeliner. I think it's called Eyeliner, wherever that is. Maybe it's not in this list. I don't know. Anyway, that's helpful, especially for like putting things on metrics, but also putting things on guidelines. Love it. I'm going to edit that next master, Eric von Blackland script to get to the next thing. Cool. And I will not run it on those again because I don't want to repeat my work. And there's probably a smart way I could operate so that like if this glyph already exists, it doesn't overwrite it. Well, there's definitely a smart way I could do that. But for now, I'll just do it. All right, I'm going to add that just so I don't erase my work accidentally. If arrow middle bar not in f dot keys, I think you would say, do this. All right, and that should prevent it. Let's test that out. Text Ultra. Let's make a change. quickly. All right. That is text ultra. Cool. It ran and it didn't change this. That's what I like to see. Okay. We could probably get even more clever and like automatically draw this contour using more scripting and less clicking around. And maybe if I had like 40 sources or something, I don't know, or I was making, I don't know. I should figure this out. Anyway, it's not that inefficient to do this. I think I'll basically pivot over to glyph construction in a minute, and then duplicate this middle bar multiple times to create longer middle bars or longer arrows. And that will kind of automate things a little more. But for now, I just want to draw this and not get too hung up on scripting. I'm not trying to look especially clever. I'm just trying to make some glyphs. All right. Okay, so I think I've done it in all of the fonts. Nice. I'm going to save all. Maybe I already did. All right. Save that. And I'm just going to Option Command W to close everything. Might as well. Cool. And then I'm going to update this menu and reopen that script and adjust it slightly for the italic things as well. Where did I put it? Here we go. Oh, no. I wanted to actually open the script instead. Drawing. If you hold Option, you can open a script rather than running it. And the only change I need to do here for my italics, I think, is f.info.italic angle. We'll find out. I'm usually wrong if I think the only change I need to make for an italic is a simple thing. But let's run it and find out. Sorry, I'm yawning. It is a little late. Okay, exactly. I also need to add in the italic offset. So plus, I always forget what this thing is. Italic offset. There's like a RoboFont specific lib thing, like a font lib. Here it is. Okay. And this try except thing is because the italic offset isn't in the upright fonts. So it'll try to get this, and if it's not there, I think it'd be like a key error or something. So I just go to accept and set it as 0. Let's find out. And I'm going to comment this out for a second while we figure this out. Text bold italic, please. All right, there, nailed it. These guidelines are now where we want them to be. So I'm going to bring that back. and put this into place. Okay, and then I'm going to run on the rest of the italics. Let's see. All right, I guess it's opening the files so I can go and edit things. Here we go. That's tricky. I can't quite line it up exactly. Just with the height of it and the italic angle, that's okay. That should be fine. I think. I don't know. Always a possibility. I have to test things out and see how they are looking. I figure a little bit of overlap is probably better than a little bit of white space. Or maybe actually, if I just make it the same, it should theoretically line up with its neighboring glyph, which I'll also do the same, like off by one thing. If that makes any sense. Basically, this will be duplicated for the long arrows. And we want to make sure that the overlap is really perfect. So it renders as decently as it can. All right. It's a little slow to go between glyphs or between sources, but not that bad. And yeah. Don't bother commenting. Oops. If don't bother commenting to tell me that Glyph's app is snappier because I know it is. But sometimes, you know, I just really enjoy the sort of scripting workflow available with UFOs and in RoboFont, and that's how I've made a lot of this named Sand so far. So that's why I kind of don't mind the occasional slight latency. All right, cool. Because, like, yeah, having a super fast UI is awesome and helpful in its ways, but there's other things that can make you faster overall. Like if you find it more intuitive to do some operation like this overall, you can be a lot faster. Okay. Or this might be a bad example. This specific thing very well might be faster and less. Probably would be. But a lot of what I'm doing these days is kerning, and that is a definite thing I prefer in RoboFont. And there is a switching cost to like hopping between RoboFont and glyphs too frequently. I don't like to do it like a lot. It's more if I have a ton of drawing to do, I like to hop over to glyphs and do some of that. Like when I was fixing the italic sources, that was totally worth some of the pains of switching back and forth. And it's not that bad, but sometimes there's just a few things that don't seamlessly travel back and forth. Okay, so I think I've got this arrow middle bar in all my sources now. And that means I can use glyph construction to construct a couple of long arrows. So I'm going to close all my sources and reopen the text bold and use that as our guinea pig.